Welcome to Contract Review for September. Glad you're here. We have a voluminous agenda today, but before we start, we have a VIP who's joined us for the first time to my knowledge, Miss Marlene Word. Would you please stand up? We're glad to have you here. She has a daughter, Dalton Doyle, who works up on the 7th floor, and we are very glad to get to meet you. She's a rock star. Thank you for being here today. All right, without much ado, we have one announcement. We do have our procurement details ready. Jason, you want to address that for us before we start, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There was a new procurement law that a lot of you are probably familiar with that passed back in 2021. It went into effect October 1st of 2022. Since that time, and it's always been part of this committee as a courtesy to the governor's office for having what's called the governor's additional questions as a submission requirement in your contract when it's submitted to the committee. The legislative code sections since October 1 of 2022 have been repealed or outdated. So a lot of you have been painstakingly, marking through those or calling about that. And so we do have good news in that. Those have been updated as of 12 noon today. We will be putting out the new form on the website. So make sure you're attentive to that, or the individual in your office who files contracts with the committee is aware, so that form can be filled out appropriately. And again, we'll update the policies manual as well as the forms on the website probably by tomorrow afternoon. So thank you.
We are grateful for the hard work that's gone into getting this done. So all code sections will be correct, and it'll make it much easier for you as you submit contracts in the future. So thank you, Jason, for updating us on that. And we're grateful to the governor's staff and the executive branch for working with us and getting that completed. Good job. Well, this month is a rather large month, as you know. 198 contracts were submitted. There were 2 that were rejected, and then 1 was pulled, so that leaves us a number of 195. So you have the agenda before you. We're going to go very quickly through pages 1 through 22. That's probably going to be the only large group that we will handle in mass. Well, first we'll do ADECA. I'm so sorry. ADECA, Apple Energy. Member, please state your name and go from there.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Elizabeth Dial, representing ADECA. We have one contract for the committee for Apple Energy Group to perform weatherization, quality control, inspection services.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Administrative Office of Courts. As I said, these are pages 1 through 22, and my suggestion would be that we handle these in mass. These are annual contracts that are done. All contracts are correct, filled out correctly, and seem to be in order unless anyone has an objection. Lead us off.
Okay, I'm Leslie Jacks with the Administrative Office of Courts, and I'm here to represent the court referral contracts.
Do you have anything you would like to say about these?
These are just mandated by the Mandatory Treatment Act of 1990.
Right. Okay, if there are no questions on this, okay. That takes us through the first page 22, and we pick up on page 23, and Ag and Industries.
Good afternoon. Gunner Guy with the Department of Agriculture and Industries. We have 3 contracts. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? You got Barganier Davis Williams, Architects, East Alabama Occupational Medicine.
That's a no-cost extension contract there, sir.
From Barganier, yeah.
Yes, sir.
100% state funds, and then the last one is Global Vet Link. Any questions on those? Thank you, Mr. Guy.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Aaliyah?
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Cohn with Aaliyah. We have one contract It's a renewal and amendment for Homeland Security Risk Assessment. This is 100% federal funds.
Right. This was originally solicited in 2019. Update us on when this will be next RFP, please.
It will be RFP'd this next year. This is our third and final renewal on the contract.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Assisted living.
I'm Jim Sasser, attorney for the Assisted Living Board. This is a 2-year contract.
Right. Tell me what this is doing here. Help me understand.
Providing basically executive director services over a 2-year period for the board, with they're in charge of all licensing, disciplinary action, education for assisted living administrators in the state of Alabama.
Okay. Any questions?
I do have a few. I'm sorry, remind me of your name again?
Jim Sasser.
Hey, Mr. Sasser, thank you so much. I'm sorry I didn't write that down when you started. I wanted to ask some questions, and I'm going to do this a couple of times today so the rest of you all know that this is coming, about some of the significant findings that were found by the Examiner of Public Accounts and what y'all are doing to remedy those. Specifically one where the board is charging a $45 examination review course fee that's not authorized by the statute. Now, I remember in the Sunset Committee, the justification was, well, it's a course, it's not a fee. The problem is it's as mandatory as it can get, where only 5 of the individuals have not paid the fee. And if they didn't pay the fee, they ended up failing the test. So it seems like a fee. It's walking like a duck and talking like a duck. Could you address that and whether or not the board intends to continue to do that?
I can. I was at Sunset Review week before last as well, and there was a board meeting that day after the Sunset Review Committee, and the board voted to just not ever charge that. They've not been charging in the last year or so anyway, and they're not going to charge it anymore.
Very good. Thank you. That answers my question. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Thank you, Senator Elliott. Thank you, Ms. Sasser.
Thank you.
Attorney General? Bueller? No? I guess we'll hold that. Chiropractor Examination Board. Hold. Commerce.
Good afternoon. I'm Erica McKay. I'm representing the Department of Commerce. We have one contract before you today. It's Smart Solutions LLC. It's a 1-year renewal. We are increasing the amount $219,780, and that's going to be 100% federally funded.
Okay. Any questions? Thanks, Erica.
Thank you.
Conservation.
Hey, Charlana Skaggs for the Department of Conservation. We have 13 general services contracts, and we'll batch them. The first one is for Stantec. That's an engineering contract to complete the Port au Pins Living Shoreline project. It's no cost time extension to finish the project.
Quick question, RFP 2021, next RFP?
We will complete this project, and so we won't have to RFP this one again.
Okay.
The next 12 are for appraisal services. The Department of Conservation, particularly the State Lands Division, has a statutory requirement to obtain appraisal services. And so that's what these 12 are. We just RFP'd these, and so it's a renewal from that set.
It's about $1.2 million, right, in appraisal fees.
That's a ceiling amount. So what we do is we set it at $200,000 per contract, and then we send out a notice to all of the appraisers whenever we have a project, and then they send us back what their, essentially what their bid is, depending on the location of the state and how complicated it is in their availability. So that's just a ceiling.
All right, and then 80% state, 20% other. The other is,
Forever Wildland Trust funds for those projects that
so
involve.
they're paying their own appraisals.
They do, yes.
Okay, that was one question I had from several concerned citizens.
We also do Go Mesa projects, and we do the NERDA projects, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill projects. And so whenever those funds are involved, they would pay for those appraisal services as well.
Any questions through the appraisers? Okay,
Thank you.
so I'm going to that's it. Thank you. Okay. Corrections.
Hey, I'm Mandy Spears for the Department of Corrections. Today, we have 3 contracts. The first on your agenda is Corrections Consulting Services. This company is formerly known as PRIA Auditors of America. They changed their name. This is a 1-year contract. This is required by court order to, the department is required by court order to conduct PRIA audits. PRIA is the Prison Rape Elimination Act audits at each facility, and we must use auditors that are certified by the U.S. Department of Justice. This is a 1-year renewal for an additional $53,619, and this RFP is already drafted and will be issued February 2024. The second is BBH CMBC. We call it Citizens Baptist. ADOC is constitutionally required to provide health care to the inmates, including mental health. Citizens Baptist will provide advanced inpatient mental health treatment to those inmates in need of such. This is a 2-year, not to exceed $20 million contract.
All right. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Is this a new contract?
Yes, this RFP was issued this year.
Okay, did we have last year for this?
What?
Did we have mental health services?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Was that through a different vendor?
That was through this vendor. They were the only vendor to respond to the RFP.
Okay, and how long have they been conducting this or doing this now?
My understanding is that I know they have been the vendor since the last RFP. So as far as I know, it's 5 years. I don't know further than 5 years.
Okay, previously we had DOC had under contract hospital rooms, I think 6 of them for inmates to go into. Do we still have that?
For inmates to go into for what?
For if they had mental issues, they had to have a bed reserved for them.
Under this contract, and as far back as I know, which my knowledge is limited to the previous RFP and contract, we have previous court order required us to have, I think, 14 reserved at all times for any minute we can put somebody in. Under this contract, we have 10 full-time available with an additional 5 if necessary.
Okay, and where's BBH located?
Talladega.
Talladega. So if we had someone in Limestone, he'd go to Talladega.
Correct.
Correct. All right. Thank you.
I have a quick question on that. Are they a vendor to Yes Care? I was trying to figure out.
No, sir. This is beyond the scope of Yes Care. So this is an additional service we have to provide.
All right, we talked about someone goes off-site for 24 hours. It's at that point, then if they are Medicaid eligible, then they could roll on to Medicaid. We've had that conversation several times. Help me, enlighten me there. How is that process going? Are we working with Medicaid? Are we seeing any results of any of our potential DOC custody folks whom we have custody over?
Right. My understanding is it's a very limited number of people who would be eligible, but I know maybe 2 weeks ago we did have a conference with Medicaid. We are still working in that direction, trying to get inmates on the that role.
There will be those that fall in that, although the number's few, the numbers can add up significantly. And I really want to encourage you to continue to do that.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know about the meeting 2 weeks ago, but I had an update prior to that, and there'd been almost no other progress made. We have an understanding between DOC and Medicaid, and I really want to encourage you to please follow through with that. We don't know when, but I see it in some of our local communities where they have things worked out, and you have some with a heart event, and that can be a $2 million situation. And why not cost share that? If someone's eligible, why not have them be able to immediately roll on, is my argument there.
We're working in that direction. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions on BBH? Okay.
All right, our third contract is with Clearwater Solutions. This is a 2-year, $525,000 not to exceed amount. We RFP'd this year, and this was the vendor that we selected. This will treat the wastewater and provide sewer services to the Limestone Correctional Facility.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
So Limestone does not have a sewage system now?
We own the sewage system, and somebody has to manage it.
Okay. So
yes.
we have, the Limestone facility has its own separate full
Yes.
facility, and that's what this is, a contract to keep that operating.
Yes, we'd love to give you a tour.
I work in the state house. I've seen.
Same difference.
The other question I would have, is there any chance that some of the ADM monies that are available for this type of work could apply for that project to get it in order at not paying these costs to DOC?
This is not construction. This is the lagoons and the treatment plant is up and operational and has been for many years. This is just treating the wastewater and providing the services.
Senator Elliott, if you have a chance on ADM in any of your questions, that might be something to look at. Is this something that might qualify for any of those grants, sir?
Yeah, I do think this is for operating the facility that's there currently. So yeah, it's probably not eligible for any of that. I would concur with her assessment on that.
Working on general fund dollars at every opportunity, sir.
Although Miss Skaggs got a lot of that money. I know that from DCNR. They got a bunch of that sewer money.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Education.
Good afternoon.
Hey.
Tina Hammonds for the Department of Education. So we have quite a few contracts this afternoon, and I'm going to try to batch a few of them as we go through. First off, we have a pair from Myers and Stauffer. These contracts help us to comply with federal mandates regarding timeframes. The first one is for SFSP, which is the Summer Food Service Program, and the second one is for CACFP, which is the Child and Adult Care Food Program. These are amendments for no-cost time extensions with the previous price already there on the contract.
Any questions on those two? Thank you.
Now we start a series of 12 different contracts. What these are, which it starts there with the first one for Morton. We have a series of contracts that are being updated merely to get us through the end of the year due to a new RFP that is out. And so these are extensions on contracts to get these 12 contracts extended through December the 31st. It is to help us to comply with the activities that we do concerning the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So the first four, Morton and Wilmer & Lee, and Miller Smith and Maylaw Group are for the, well, let's see. The first two are for the hearing officers. Then you have 1, 2, 3 in a row for the IEP meeting facilitators. So that's Miller, May, and Bradley. And then we have Courtney Mann LLP, which is a mediator. And then Bradley Law Group is a mediator. Assessment Consultations and Education Solutions is a mediator. And then we have IEP meeting facilitators. Assessments, consultations, again, we'll be doing that. And then Nika Golston law group is again for mediators. So that's 12 in a row that are for 3 different things. IEP meeting facilitators to facilitate individual education program meetings, mediators to conduct mediations under the IDEA, and hearing officers to conduct hearings. So it's 12 different contract extensions.
Okay, I've got questions for page 39 and 40. Let's just.
Yes, sir.
And they tie into the Bradley Law Group. Great group, I'm sure. There are 3 contracts that they have here on 36, one on 39, one on 40.
Yes, sir.
This person is listed as being the IDEA hearing officer, IEP meeting facilitator, and then IBEA mediator.
Yes, sir.
I see Chairman Albritton and others wear multiple hats all the time.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to understand doing all 3 of those. One could perceive that it might be hard to keep independence or do something there. Help me understand that.
Yes, sir. Different cases are treated in different ways. And so we have cases that come through that will go through the meeting situation, through the mediation situation, or through the hearing process. So as they come in, they are assigned to the people who are able to facilitate meetings or to actually facilitate the mediations or to do the hearing. And so this person is able to, and trained and capable to do all 3 types, and is under contract to do all 3 types. And as those cases come up and are assigned, they would be assigned on a rotation to the people who are qualified for each job. So this person just happens to do all 3 types of work in this area that we need for this IDEA compliance. Others are only choosing to do one or are only capable of doing one.
It still seems like one could feed, you could feed a system, feed something else. There's an appearance of that, and I just wanted to make sure.
Well, it's different cases that the person is doing different work in, and to let you know, this is all in consultation with our federal partners and in consultation with those who are the consultants for us that help us to make sure we're in IDEA compliance with every single case that comes through. So as far as my understanding is, this is all completely compliant for the federal regulations and acceptable due to the fact that it's different tasks with different cases with different children.
Any questions on those 36, 39, 40?
Just a clarification, if I can, Mr. Chairman, these are all zero-cost time extensions federally funded.
No, I'm not sure if they are. I think they're federally funded. Yes, sir, I believe so. I don't have that in front of me. Yes, sir, they should be federally funded. But what it is these people were RFP'd and had contracts that end fiscal year. We're trying to get them through the end of the actual year so that we can have the new RFP. The new RFP process has already been started, and we're going through the award process now.
Okay. 1 second, real quick.
Yeah. On the bottom of 39, your education, Courtney and Mann, we're going to hold that member owner names. If you look there, there's no LLC, no other.
Yes, sir. I noticed that on the preparation before coming over today, and would like your mercy on that. It is Jeffrey Courtney, and so that is the person that is listed on the contract.
Yeah, if you'll just submit something.
We can do that.
That would
definitely
be great.
Okay, and then that's going to leave us with one more, and then, of course, a legal one later. But we also have the Joycelyn Coolidge DBA Center Street Consulting contract that's on page 42. This consultant will serve as an external researcher, evaluator, assessment analyst, and assessment reporter for our state systemic improvement plan and for other programs that she works with. This is a $135,000 contract for 1 year.
Is this more of a professional services contract?
Yes, sir. So the State Systemic Improvement Plan, the SSIP, is a federally mandated program through the Office of Special Education Programs, OSEP, and it is a comprehensive multi-year plan that states develop and report annually to improve results for children with disabilities. This person has served the department for many years as our external researcher, evaluator, analyst, and reporter for that program. She helps to develop surveys and has specialized knowledge and data analysis expertise in this area.
So do we RFP this? How do we come across this?
Let's see. This was, an RFP was not required. I think she's probably a sole source, but
Yes, she
I
is.
have a whole stack
She's
over
sole
here. I just don't have that one in
Yeah,
front of me.
that sole source always begs the question for how long do we use sole source without adding some trueness to the bid or to the services?
Yes, sir. From what I know, it's because of the specialized knowledge with this grant, and my understanding is this is the person that is able to provide this analysis for Alabama.
From Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yes, sir. She's a national expert, and so this is what we use for our compliance with these programs.
All right, any questions through 42? Okay. Tina
Hammonds?
Hammonds. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for being prepared. Yeah. Electrical Contractors Board.
Good morning, Alva Lambert for Electrical Contractor Board.
Your name, please?
Alva, A-L-V-A, Lambert, L-A-M-B-E-R-T.
Any questions?
I've got a couple if I can, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lambert, are you with the board? Are you on the board?
Yes, sir, with the board.
Okay, very good. Who are you employed by? I'm sorry.
I'm a part-time employee with the board.
Okay. I have some questions about some audit findings and specifically about there's some accounting issues, and then more specifically something that seems to happen with some of these boards that are managed by private companies, and that is that the boards are issuing licenses and fees that aren't authorized by the statute. So for instance, this one finding says the board adopted administrative rule, yada, yada, to issue a charge of $75 fee for a provisional license that is not authorized by the statute. The board further collected unauthorized provisional license fees of over $40,000 in 2020, and then another $16,000 in 2019. Was the same management company that's up before us today in charge when that occurred?
It was transitional, and that has been addressed, Representative Elliott, and it has been in response.
Senator Elliott, just
I'm
heads
sorry.
up. That's all right.
All right.
Thank you.
The Sunset Committee, that's what got me off before, so it was Sunset. Senator Elliott addressed that issue, and the board has voted to discontinue those licenses and any fees related thereto.
Okay. I ask this, and I bring this to your attention and to everyone's attention, really, because it seems systemic across a lot of these boards where we're charging fees and issuing licenses that are not authorized by the statute, and it's concerning to me. I'm glad that this board has addressed that, and we'll press on, Mr. Chairman.
We have some board members with the Electrical Contractor Board. If they want to be recognized, they took immediate action and addressed that.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that, board. Okay, thank you very much.
you.
Appreciate it. Environmental management.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members. I'm Russell Kelly with Environmental Management. We have two contracts today. The first contract, and as you noted, is out of state, but let me explain. We sent that RFP out to 34 vendors, and we only had one response. The reason for that is that's a highly specialized field in what they do. Equipment's very expensive, and the staff there are highly trained. We have a air monitor, and once we collect samples, this contract is going to deal with forensic analysis of those samples if they exceed the threshold. In that forensic analysis, they will help us identify what the particles are, what type they are, and what the sources are, so that if we have a non-compliance issue, we can gain compliance. in any particular quarter where we don't have an exceedance, which we feel like we won't for most of the time, if not all the time, we hope we don't have any, we will take the highest reading and send that off just to give us a good information for our database on where our potential air emission sources are that might be creating issues. It's up to 30,000 and it's about $1,000 a sample if and when we use it.
Any questions on this? All right, next.
Thank you. The second is, actually this involves a replacement of our current chiller system at our central laboratory here in Montgomery. It's beyond its life expectancy. We, the last couple of years, spent upwards of $100,000, $150,000 limping along, so it's time for a replacement. And these are our consulting engineering fees for the design and replacement. And as you know, those percentages are set by the Division of Construction Management, which is the process that we're following.
Okay, any questions on that?
A follow-up question from the last meeting, if I can, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Did you give up on your bird, or is it still pending?
Sir Dale, I'm not aware that it's been executed,
Okay,
and I don't have any further instruction on that.
fair enough. Thank you, Mr.
Can
Kelly.
you define executed there, please?
I think I mean signed.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Mr. Kelly.
Thank you.
Examiners and Consulting Board.
Good afternoon. Deanna Tidwell. I'm the chair of the Board of Examiners and Counseling Board.
Welcome to the committee. First, I've got a question on the first one that I'm trying to understand. We say here that it's outside the scope of the merit system in hiring someone that can perform these duties, and it's $70,000. Have we looked for someone that could handle this internally, or is this a one-time deal, or it's a 2-year contract? And it's also funded by other.
My understanding is that we have looked for others to do that. I mean, you have to be very qualified to do this. I mean, counseling, of course, you know how important that is, and you want someone that's trained and educated and knows what they're looking at when they're doing this.
Okay, any questions on that? All right.
It's $420,000, is that right?
Increased to 130,000 total. It's extension of time, additional cost 70,000.
Okay, and forgive me, there's a bunch of these boards.
Yes, sir.
This is the examiners in counseling.
Yes, sir.
Is that the same as the behavior analysis?
No, sir.
And it's not the same as the social work?
No, sir, we are not.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on that? All right, next one. Smith Warren Management. $420,000.
The only bid we got.
Are my friends at the Secretary of State's office paying attention to these numbers? Okay.
Was that a
bunch of money? It's a whole bunch of money.
It is.
And these are from fees paid by our citizens who hold the license of counseling.
Yes, sir.
And we end up with issues when we pay all this money. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I didn't mean to, significant issue. The board did not maintain accurate and current time records, resulting in a former employee receiving salary payments for periods not worked following the employee's resignation. I mean, we're $420,000 and we're not managing it right.
Well, the board would love suggestions of any way to get any other bids.
Oh, I got
We're
you
working on
covered.
those.
I got you covered.
All right, any other questions? Mr. Warren, would you like to speak?
I would. Senator Elliott, that particular situation was the responsibility of the previous executive director, Dr. Keith Cates, and he is no longer with the board. So under this contract, there will be no state employees that are employed by this board. They will all be handled under this RFP that was outlined and sent out through the RFP process. So that has been eliminated.
Good.
You have a question? Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll handle the next one.
Oh, we've got one more question next. Here's the sole source. We're on the top of page 45, sole source. Is there no one else who can perform this type of work?
So in reviewing the options for this is for the new wellness program that you so graciously approved during the last legislative session. The reason MASA was selected for this is they have more rehabilitation services besides just alcohol and drug addiction. So they have boundary courses, ethics courses, and anything that a counselor is struggling from, either if they self-report or if it happens and is identified through the complaint process, they have more capabilities to be able to assist the licensee in rehabilitating their issue.
Look, I get this is a problem and appreciate the work that MASA's doing also for physicians and others. And it's a vital work, especially in light of the situations we face today societally.
Yes, sir, absolutely. So we think we chose the best provider to meet all of our needs.
Senator Elliott?
Are the counselors that are licensed here members of MASA?
They are not. They are members of the Alabama Counseling Association, but they're not members of MASA. This is a division of MASA, and I have Brandy Boone, who is one of their general counsels present here today if there's more specific questions, but no, sir. LPCs are not members of MASA.
Very good. It's interesting when you start having a licensing board paying an association. We need to be careful there, and that's the point of the question.
Yeah, well, I called MASA yesterday to ask about this, and
great minds.
Anyway, good. Yeah, I appreciate the work that's going on by MASA greatly.
Hi, I'm Brandy Boone. I'm with the Medical Association. If there are any other questions, the only thing I would like to add on the sole source question is through the legislature's act that was passed this regular session, there was a grant of authority to the Board of Examiners and Counseling to work with either a nonprofit or medical association to essentially manage this new wellness program. And as far as the sole source, there may be others out there who can monitor these types of activities, but none of them are nonprofits or medical association other than the Medical Association of the State of Alabama.
Well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Finance?
Good afternoon. I'm Taylor Nichols, Department of Finance. We have 3 contracts. I'll take the first one. The first one is CMH Architects. This is an amendment for $500 for work to be performed on the Capitol elevators.
Any questions on that? Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Darrell Masters with the Division of Risk Management within the Finance Department. We have 2 contracts on the agenda today. Both are for the CTF, the State Employee Injury Compensation Trust Fund. First is for our medical management. The second for our Employee Assistance Program, which provides mental health care services to state employees. Both are renewals and our first renewals available under the terms of the original contract.
Any questions on these? Minnie? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Forensic Sciences.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. Angelo Delamano with the Department of Forensic Sciences. We have two contracts for you today, both for forensic odontologists to help us in those rare occasions where our state medical examiners need to compare the antemortem to the postmortem dentition to identify our skeletal remains.
Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Top of page 48, Forestry Commission.
Good afternoon. I'm Scott Rouse of the Forestry Commission. I've got one contract for you today. This is a contract with an auctioneering company, J.M. Wood, to provide sales of our surplus equipment. If you all remember, you passed a bill this past session that gives us the authority, similar to ALEA and ALDOT, to manage a surplus equipment program, and this is what this contract accomplishes.
Appreciate your doing that. Give me an idea of the revenue generated. Do you have that off the top of your head?
It's really hard to tell. That's why we've got a pretty high not to exceed number in here. You'll see, I think in the disclosure statement, J.M. Wood, their commission was about between $700,000 and $800,000 from ALDOT the last 2 fiscal years, but it was only about $80,000 for ALEA. I think we're going to come in somewhere between that, probably closer to ALEA, but we have about a year's worth of backlog of surplus equipment, just a lot of things we need to clear out. So, I mean, we're hoping, just some numbers I've heard around the office, maybe a million or two that we can clear on this, which will be, and this I know particularly with our budget chairs, but others have heard us talk about this. We're really trying to modernize an equipment and vehicle replacement program, which we really haven't had in a very long time. So we're just now getting some heavy equipment. We appreciate the funding. We've just put 16 or 17 new dozers into service. I know some of you have seen those, and that's the most we've had in probably 15 years. And so this surplus equipment program we're trying to implement here is going to be a key element of that.
Y'all's ability to respond quickly with those dozers and transportation thereof is appreciated by many often. All right, Chairman.
Thank you.
Oh, Chairman, do you have any questions on that?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the work you did on that and coming meeting with us, and I think you will reap huge dividends in the difference in the way that the state's done it for many, many years. So appreciate you doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Teamwork's a great thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Historic Commission.
Good afternoon. I'm Eleanor Cunningham with the Historical Commission. We have two contracts before you today. The first is an extension for time and money. We did accidentally leave off the list of Board of Trustees. The company Terracon is an employee-owned company. I did submit that list yesterday.
We got it. Okay. Thank you very much. It would have otherwise been held. Way to be proactive. All right. Top page 49.
Yes, the second contract is with Kingstree Studios. It is a new contract, and it is to research and complete a National Register nomination.
I would love to ask more questions just to learn. That sounds fascinating. Thank you for the work that y'all are doing on this.
Thank you.
All right. Human Resources.
Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Bush with DHR, and we have 3 contracts for your review. The first is a 1-year renewal with Conduit State and Local Solutions to operate the Child Support Payment Center. That is 34% state funds and 66% federal funds.
This was initially RFP'd in 2019. Can you enlighten us on when it will next be RFP'd?
Yes, sir. We are preparing that RFP right now, and so that will be issued. This is the last 1-year contract for this particular RFP.
So it'll by this time next year, it will have been RFP'd?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're preparing that RFP right now.
Thank you. All right. Top of page 50.
Yes, sir. This is a new 2-year contract with Conduit State and Local Solutions, and it is for EBT services. That is 50% state funds and 50% federal funds.
Okay, you listed lobbyists on the last one, is Capital Resources. We'd assume they're the same.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions on that? All right, bottom of page 50, initially RFP 2020, next RFP date?
Yes, sir. It's my understanding that this is a 1-year renewal, and it is the second renewal. And so if it's going to have a maximum of 5 years, then we could conceivably have 2 more years under that RFP. I'm not aware of an RFP being prepared on this one.
Okay, can you give me those dates one more time, please?
Yes, sir. This
Initially
is
done?
Sir?
Initial contract was when?
The initial contract was from, bear with me, sir.
So it was a 5-year, you're going through 24, so you're doing a 1-year here. So it was,
I have a copy of the original in here. I'm going to.
Jason, do you have this information at fingertips or not?
I do have it, sir.
Okay.
The first contract was for 2 years, and it ended September 30th of 2022. So that started in 19. So 2 years, October 1st, 19 to September 30th of 22. Then we had a renewal. October 1st, 2020 through September 30th of 22. That was 1 year. We had a 2-year and a 1-year, and this is another 1 year.
So this would be the last year. This is 23 to 24.
Yes, sir.
So maybe RFP in 24?
We will go back and I will go back and look at those dates and make sure that if we need to do an RFP, we will do that.
That's the point. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We will do that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Insurance?
Good afternoon, Heather Lowe with the Department of Insurance. We come with one contract today for $50,000.
Any questions? Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Labor?
Good afternoon, Arthur A., Department of Labor. One contract, extension for Ask Telemarketing. Still work on our front-end phone system. They've been handling that while we push people with the amount of experience and meet the federal guidelines into hearings and appeals to continue working on pandemic backlogs.
Look down at the bottom there, the LLC members are who? Can you tell me who they are?
I'm sorry, it's an Inc. It's a corporation. Its president's Rick Burley.
If you could just shoot that to us, that would be great. Just an email to our guys. We'll hold it till then, please. But sure, just fill that out. Here again, we're trying to be thorough of who's behind every contract that we do. You can do an Inc., but then if you have information on that, that'd be helpful.
Sure. Yeah, I'll get it this afternoon. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Legislative Services.
Good afternoon, committee. Jimmy Intrican with Legislative Services Agency. The contract we have before you today is with a vendor for a feasibility study for a healthcare high school, similar to our other specialty high schools like cybersecurity and math and science.
I think that's a great project once we get that launched. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, committee.
Majority Leader of the House.
Good afternoon, committee. I'm Jade Wagner with the Speaker's Office, and we have one contract to present today on behalf of the House Majority Leader for Asbel Communications. It's just a 1-year contract for public relations services, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, you have any comments on that, Rex?
I don't. I support the contract.
Thank you, sir.
I support it too. Thank you.
Thank you, committee.
Marriage Family Therapy Examiners. Top page 53.
Good afternoon. Laura Howell, counsel for the board. They have a single contract today. It is the same contract that you reviewed last contract review committee session. We had to go back and make one change to it to add compliance with ethic laws in compliance with the governor's executive order 726.
Any questions, comments?
Yeah, real quick, if I can, Mr. Chairman, this is going back to 2020, and I just want to make sure this issue's been resolved, where the board had established an associate license that was not provided by law.
Yes.
Has that been resolved?
It has.
Okay.
The board worked together and passed a law through the Legislature Act 2022-238 to establish that license.
If in the future we can pass the law so that the statute allows it first prior to y'all doing it, it would be helpful.
Of course.
Thank you.
Can you give me that act number 2022?
238.
238. Thank you. Medicaid.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Nick Hines with the Alabama Medicaid Agency. The agency has 11 contracts before you today. The first is the bottom of page 53, HDI Solutions, LLC. This is for help desk support and maintenance for Medicaid recipients and providers related to the agency's health information and exchange. And Mr. Chairman, I think you might have had a question regarding the LLC members, and I believe that's been provided earlier this afternoon.
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, great. Yeah, I've got a few questions. I sent them yesterday just to make it clear where we're going here on this. We're required to know the members for contracts based on new procurement law. So bear with us. Provide the information. It certainly helps us all on that. So thanks for sending that.
Yes, sir. We saw those questions, and I think HDI we provided, and then the other two, I think we provided that information as well. The sole members are, I believe, University of Alabama, Birmingham, and University of South Alabama for the other.
We all knew who they were without question, but.
Well, I had to check.
No, understand.
Full disclosure, I did have to check.
Well, good. So we're, okay.
The next contract is at the top of page 54. It's Alabama Select Network. This is part of the ICN program, is to perform primary care case management to Medicare's long-term care population.
Okay.
What? I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
What's ICN? Sorry.
Intermediate Care Network. The kind of the shortest version I can provide is assisting individuals who are in a nursing home that with a little extra help could probably help the state avoid the cost of being in the nursing home to transition them back into the public and kind of vice versa. So individuals that are in the public and with maybe a little bit extra assistance can avoid going into a nursing home. And that's, again, that's for individuals across the state, Senator.
Thank you.
The next contract we have is Keystone Peer Review Organization, LLC, KeyPro. This is for quality review services to be provided that include a review of prior authorizations related to nursing home care, hospice, post-extended care, and swing beds in the eligible facilities.
And you provided these names also to us this afternoon?
Yes, sir, Senator.
Okay. All right, let me go back to the top of 54, Associated Care Ventures. It's an Inc., public, private?
The Associated Care Ventures, Inc., I believe that's private, and I can double check that as well to make sure that information was included with what was sent over.
Jason, do you have a thought on that? Okay, we got it.
If I'm remembering correctly, I think we sent over the members we had available of the Inc., including the president.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to 55.
Yeah, yes, sir. Top of 55, Conduit State and Local Solutions, Inc. This contractor is going to develop and help process delivery of the non-emergency transport benefits to the individuals who are providing the non-emergency transport.
Any questions on that? All right, bottom of 56.
And yes, sir, Senator. And the next 7 contracts are essentially the same contract as they all deal with the Alabama Coordinated Health Networks. Would you like me to go through each one individually or take them as a group?
Part of this was solicited via RFP in 2019, January of 19. When will it be? And I'm going to ask that question about each one. If you know, just you can fill in the blanks as we go.
I believe this is the 3rd and final renewal, so it will be getting rebid. And I'll look to my cheat sheet behind me, and I'm getting nodded yes. So this will, the 3rd and final renewal.
24?
Correct.
Okay.
So this contract provides care coordination services for general primary care, maternity, and family planning throughout each one of the agency's 7 ACHN regions.
Okay.
And that is the case for each one of the next 7 contracts. So concluding.
So 56, both those will be RFP'd again in 24.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Each one of them, that's the same for the 2 on page 57 and 58 as well.
Does anyone have any questions on those as we go? And I'm assuming we got the information on the top of 58. Also, your assumption's the same?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Of course, I'll correct that if that's not right.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, great job.
Thank you.
Thanks for being proactive and getting that information.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mental health.
So Brian, excuse me, Brian Penn, mental health, we have 12 contracts and they're not all the same. So the first one is AW Holdings. It's an amendment. So this contract is just to add more time and money. It's for the implementation of the advancing care, crisis care and enhancing support systems.
I have no problem with the contract. We still don't know who's behind the curtain there, if you will, back to membership, ownership there. If you could just get us that information.
Yes.
On the top of 58.9, we'll hold that one till we receive that. All right, bottom of 59.
Okay, CDS Consulting. This is an amendment. And what they do is provide system development, provider recruitment and enhancement, strategic planning, Medicare compliance, quality assurance, and insurance navigation. Work is necessary to help the department comply with the Autism Settlement Agreement.
Okay, this again, here we go, a sole source here. Help me understand, are they the only one in the United States and no one in Alabama can do this?
That's my understanding.
I struggle with, I struggle, sole source, we struggle with,
Yes.
number one, and I've thought, we appreciate the work they do. Please
Yes.
understand that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
please.
I'm gonna hold that contract until somebody can explain why that's sole source today. I just don't understand the sole source. I mean,
This is an amendment, so.
Yeah, it's
I just need to understand.
extension of a year, and
I understand your point about the amendment, but I want to understand the sole source so that when it's up for our, when it's up again, that I got to understand the sole source, and I just don't. It seems pretty generic. We're not the only ones doing this, and just need to understand that if you don't.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll get you.
I have no idea if the counseling board who was just here, if some of those members could handle this. Here again, when we can find ways to employ Alabama groups, I think it makes sense to do that. Okay, so both those on 59 are held pending information, and then just an explanation on sole source. Okay, top of 60.
Okay, we got Guide House Incorporated. They have 2 contracts. The first one is a renewal. What they do is they design new services and redesign prior services for mental illness clients as it relates to EPSDT. And this is part of the EPSDT settlement agreement.
Okay, here again, this was initially solicited in May of 21. Is there no one in Alabama that can do this type of work?
Will.
Talking about almost $2.328 million. 96% funded by the state. It begs the question there, if you could please let us know how we go about soliciting this, and is there a way to find an Alabama group that could do this? We would appreciate that. Or when it's going to be RFP'd again.
Okay.
This is not Pick on Mental Health Day. Please know that.
Okay, the next one is Guide House also, and it's an amendment. And this has helped the department and providers regarding the 1115 substance abuse waiver.
Similar, I have similar type questions. I don't want to hold this, but it's the same deal. It's 100% federal funds, and I just have to believe that we have competent people in Alabama who could help us with this, is my point. So, but I'm good. I'm gonna let that go. All right.
Okay. Okay, the next one is WellSky. This
Sole
is
source again.
Sole source.
100% federal. Grand Park, Kansas. Feel like I'm throwing rocks at you.
Yeah, it's not. It's
this is about, we are the state of Alabama, and we're contracting out large amounts of money here. Maybe there's something, a plan to go, okay, is there no one in Alabama that can provide these services? I tend to think that we have lots of folks in Alabama and they might be able to assist here. So
This is, they're providing
it's
software.
I get that.
This is, of course, is proprietary.
Right.
And I believe this one is up for RFP at the end of this term.
yes, but if it's up for RFP, but an RFP isn't required because it's sole source, then here we go again.
We've been using them for 20 years.
Right, it's the amount of time involved.
We have all types of vendors in our state that provide great solutions to software.
I mean, again, the description, it says updates to software currently utilized to track and process payments. I mean, that's where it starts. I have to imagine that that's fairly generic.
For 20 years, by the way. So anyway, I think that's worth looking at. You say it's RFP'd in 2024?
Well, it's my understanding that this is going to be the last time, and then we're going to RFP it.
It's just, I don't want to be locked into a vendor for life, especially out-of-state vendors for life. And I agree with Senator Elliott. There have to be options in our state with super qualified folks who can provide this service to us, maybe more competitively. Okay, I'm fine to let that go, but I'm just telling you, I would really appreciate that being looked into.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir, Capstone Health.
Okay, this is a new contract. We did post it to the database and did 270 direct solicitations, we had 2 responses. And basically what they do is provide physicals for pre and post-employment for the facilities in Tuscaloosa.
I read the description of it, and I've read it 3 or 4 times. I called an attorney who's a member of the Senate and read it to him and said, can you explain what this is? He could not. So I'm struggling. I get what you just said. I understand. I didn't understand the description here. Who's controlling this, the Capstone Health Foundation? Do we have that information from a previous contract? We still don't know who they are. And if you can provide board members who's behind that curtain, it would be most helpful, please. So I'll hold that one to get that information. Here again, we want to be as transparent as we can as we spend state dollars. That's our whole objective here.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Top of page 62.
The next one is Health Management Associates. This is a renewal.
Initially solicited in 2020. When will that be RFP'd again?
Let me look at this.
And also the members aren't listed. It's a HMA holding company, owns 100% stock in Health Management Associates. We don't know who they are, but their address is Lansing, Michigan.
I don't know when this one will be RFP'd again. I don't know.
Well, we'll hold that, and if you will let us know on that.
Okay.
And I assure you, this is not Pick on Mental Health Day. It seems like it.
No, Mr. Chairman, if I can comment though, but the purpose of understanding who the members are, who the owners are, is for transparency. So when we list a holding company that owns 100% stock of the corporation, we're no closer to understanding.
Right.
I believe that we were confused on, we were providing information for LLCs. We didn't know other entities also had that. But we'll take care of that from here forward. Make sure all entities, all the members of the entities are listed.
That would be most helpful.
Yes.
And then the bottom there, initially solicited in August of 2020. So will that be increased?
Which one are we on?
Sir?
Which one are we on now?
I'm sorry, the bottom of 62.
62, Columbus.
Yeah,
This is a renewal. This is also for the CWP program, and I don't know when it'll be RFP'd again.
Here again, vendors for life and out of state. I would love to get an idea on that one too, if that's.
Yes.
Thank you. So we'll hold that one too. Southeast Medical Group Tuscaloosa, I have no questions. Top of page 63. Bottom of 63, Moonlight Investigative Service, initially solicited in June of 2017.
This is a renewal. They do pre-employment and post-employment background checks as needed at the facilities. This is an Alabama company.
Right, but it's not been RFP since 2017.
Yes. And I don't know when we're going to, but I can find out.
We want to know. You want to know? These are huge dollars that are going out and remain competitive. Our budget chairs left. They're having to handle some other issues, but we've got economic headwinds in front of us here, and managing these contracts, every penny's going to matter. So if you can just give me an idea on that one, I would be most grateful. Thank you.
And the next one is health risk screening. It's a new contract. Sole source.
Yeah. Oh, it is. That's right. That was my question. Good anticipation. So it's a sole
and I believe they really are at this time the only company that's doing this kind of work online and in person.
Okay, we'll let this go for this year, but I'm telling you, I hate sole source contracts.
But that was the quote of the day.
Yeah,
I believe
look.
they really are. I love it. That's just great. Thank you.
Do you
smile.
understand this is not pick on mental health?
Yeah, I understand
Okay, just
completely.
understand.
It makes sense to me. It
Okay.
does. Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes. And the last one is Allied Community Resources. This is a new contract. It was RFP, and we had 3 responses.
Okay, this was fascinating to me. Any idea how many people are covered under this contract?
We have at least 524. When I first started doing this, we had 87. That was 7 years ago. So we have, we've increased a lot. What this does is it takes people out of group homes and allows them to live independently, live at home. If they were in group homes, it would cost approximately $87,000 a year per person. So that's where the savings comes from, is saving the state $14 million per year as compared to if they lived in group homes. It also allows individuals living at home the option to choose his own provider, he or she, to choose their own provider and not use whoever the group home is using.
So you said it was 87, so we're going to $60,000 a person under this plan versus the other, but it's the independence of those people is what you're saying, correct?
The whole point of it is to allow an option for people. And we're talking about people who have developmental disability, not mental illness. And it allows them to live at home, to be independent, and to select their own providers and their own treatment as they need.
Okay. All right, sir, it's good
Yes,
with that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Come back and see us again. Feel like we need to stand up and take a break. All right, Office of Minority Affairs. And it's a sole source, so.
I know, I'm sitting there. I'm Stacey Robinson, from the Office of Minority Affairs, and we have one contract before you. The questions about the sole source is that it is a specialized service, and only one vendor it was RFP'd, but the specialized service, so the multicultural engagement piece is why is that.
All right, questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pardon and paroles. And we're on page 66, folks. We're making progress.
I think we're halfway.
Yeah.
I'm Claudia Smith for Pardons and Parole. We just have one contract. It's for psychological evaluations for the officers, and it is with the Affordable Counseling Therapy, doing business as the Employee Assistance Services.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peace Officers Annuity and Benefit Funds.
Good afternoon. I'm John Hickson. I'm the director. We've got 2 contracts today. First contract is for an actuarial services. It's required by law.
All right, source of funds is others. What
Yes,
is
sir.
that?
We're a self-appropriating agency. We get money from fines and fees and other things via the law, so we don't get any general fund money or ETF money.
Okay, thank you. Then Regions Bank.
Yes, sir. They're going to be our consultant, manager, and advisor for the portfolio.
Okay, bottom line, what kind of dollars are we talking about?
Well, these are ceiling contracts, so that's the most.
Okay.
We've got about $33 million invested. We're paying 28 basis points with a ceiling of $100,000. We got them to put that in there, so hopefully as the contract progresses, we'll actually pay her a lower fee per basis point.
Sure. Okay. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Physical therapy.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kathy. I'm representing the Board of Physical Therapy today.
Kathy, what?
Kathy Miller, I'm sorry. And we have one contract before you for $40,000.
Is that a sole source by any chance?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's for the wellness program.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, you've got a contract for the wellness program that was on
Yes, sir.
Another contract. But the governor could transfer files to another doctor. Are we correct with that?
Right, if there was an issue, yes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Could you explain? Forgive me. Could you explain why this is a sole source?
Sure, Dr. Garver has an expertise in this area. He monitors impaired practitioners. That's the jargon we use for several boards, and he's been doing it. Well, for us, this will be his 10th year, and going on his 11th year, and he's located in Alabama.
Is there anyone else in the state that does it?
Not that I'm aware of. He does it for quite a few boards. I've not heard of another one, but I'm not saying that.
We dealt with that on page 45.
Okay.
Also. So, all right, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Private Investigation Board.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ben Albritton, counsel to the board. We have one contract for administrative services.
Mr. Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm glad to see my friends from the Secretary of State's office are still here. So we've got a $168,000 contract here for the Austin Group. Let me read some significant issues. This is a significant issue, finding from the auditors 2023-001. We're depositing money from one board into another board's account. The board had one deposit totaling $2,500 and another deposit totaling $300 that were both certified twice into the board's treasury fund, resulting in an overstatement of their revenues, and then deposits totaling $585 for two other agencies managed by the Austin Group were certified into the private investigator board's treasury fund. I bring this up. I mean, it's just, I don't know how to put it. Mistakes happen, but it looks sloppy. It looks sloppy. You know, we go on to payments made ahead of time, 36 separate payments here that were made inappropriately. I'm going to continue to harp on these issues. It's not neat and clean. It's not as it should be. It's not operating as it should be. It's operating as an agency of the state, and it's not being run well. And this is board after board after board. Have y'all gotten a hold of making sure we're putting money in the right accounts so that you don't have board money from over here going into your account and board money from somebody else's board going into the private investigator board account?
Yes, sir, that issue has been taken care of.
Okay. Let's press on then. Thank you, sir. Did anybody else? Yeah.
I've been sitting here listening to, I mean, it seems like it's systemic issues with each board. And I'm assuming this is a new Austin Group. This is the first time for this group to manage or provide these services?
They were managing this board priorly on an emergency contract.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess it's the same issue, trying to figure out why it appears that across many of the boards have the same issues as far as accounting is concerned. But you mentioned that you've gotten a hold of those things. I mean, like I said, I'll let it go, but it's just interesting that it just continues to keep happening.
Mr. Chairman, if I can follow up, because you brought up emergency contracts, I'm sorry, I need to make sure we clarify that. The board's initial emergency contract began on April 22nd, 2020. The board entered a second emergency contract with the Austin Group on June 13th, 2022. 1 month later, the board entered a third emergency contract on July 14th, 2021. Prior to the expiration of the board's third emergency contract, the board entered into a fourth emergency contract. May 2nd, 2022, the board entered into a fifth emergency contract, May 19th, 2023. They're not all emergencies. When you got the answer for emergency contract, I just wanted to make sure we brought that up.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back out of order. I'm going to the bottom of page 25. Is Ben Baxley here, or AG office?
Clay Crenshaw with AG's office. Sorry I missed the first call. This is a contract with Kenneth Kinsey. He's going to be a speaker at our Law Enforcement Summit, which will be held in October. Church of the Highlands have about 800 or 900 law enforcement personnel from across the state that attends. Mr. Kinsey works in Orangeburg, South Carolina. I believe he investigated the Murdoch case as well. So it'll be an interesting topic for all law enforcement.
All right, any questions? Okay, we're good with that. Bottom of 25, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, back on the order. Top of page 69. Public Health.
Good afternoon. I'm Valerie Russell with the Public Health. I have two contracts. The first is a no-cost extension contract for 1 year with Copper Wing Design LLC.
Quick question on that. Have you had any contact with the Chief Procurement Officer on the possibility of a statewide contract for these services?
I have not.
It's a thought, because we run across this regularly, and here again, it might be a cost savings to us in the long run. And also, how is this funded? I know it's a no-cost extension, but how is the original funded? It wasn't on the form.
Yes, sir. Originally, it was 96.15 federal funds and 3.85 state funds.
Okay, thanks. It just wasn't on the submission. All right, any questions there? But please do, we've met with the CPO, and I think there are benefits in looking at this, the statewide ramifications of what we can do for economies of scale. Just a thought.
Yes, sir.
All right, second one.
The second one is, excuse me, a contract with Joanna Brandy and Company, Inc. It's for $32,000. It's a new contract.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good day.
You too.
Get back to me, please, on that CPO conversation.
I will. Thank you.
Public Service Commission.
Good afternoon. I'm John Garner with the APSC. We have the one contract before you. It provides for the annual audits of the dual party relay fund. That's required by the Alabama Code.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Rehabilitation Services.
Hello, I'm Craig Aiken. We have 3 contracts, 2 for psychological consultants to provide services through our adult program, and
I'm Kim McLaughlin, and with the Children's Rehab Service Program, and we have 1 contract for medical consultant and to provide services for specialty clinics.
All right, any questions on any of those? Long wait for a nothing burger, but thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, revenue.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Martin Mitchell. I'm with the Alabama Department of Revenue, and we have 3 non-legal services contracts before you now. I'll go ahead and start out. Obviously, we don't have the members listed on all 3, so we have SIN, but we'll ask for absolution there. There should be an email going to the examiners of public accounts with that information for the transparency that
You're
you need.
most kind on that.
Okay, I will take the first contract. It's with Randall Reilly doing business as Price Digest. This is a $133,500 contract for vehicle valuation data that's going to be used across the state. There was an RFP recently issued. There was only 1 response, and it is a 2-year contract. It's got $2,500 for 10 hours of support, and then it's $65,000 a year.
What do you do with this information?
We have, we use this information every year. It is the vehicle valuation data.
Okay, yeah.
So if you buy a car in one part of the state, the price is going to be the same. Applicable, the millage is what will change it.
Perfect. All right.
Okay. The second contract is with Garrett Consulting, Inc. This is a $508,500 contract. This is a consulting contract for expertise helping us as we bring all the in-house functioning of processing and scanning all returns, payments, fully in-house at the Department of Revenue. It was issued an RFP that was issued this year, and they were the only response to that RFP.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, last one.
Okay, we have another one that's also with Randall Reilly doing business as Price Digest. This is a $40,000 2-year contract, $20,000 a year. Again, it's going to give us it's going to give us both vehicle, power sport, and vessel data. We are going to use this as we modernize our entire titling system throughout the state. We've never had vessel data before. We will have it going forward, and it will be used to make sure that the titles are branded properly. It's using the most up-to-date data, and it will ensure if we do need a surety on a vessel that we are able to do that no more than 2 times the vessel price.
That's been a complicated sticky wicket, has it not?
Complicated, but it's going to be good for the state of Alabama, so we're excited.
I agree with you there. I can't remember who filed that bill. We'll come up with that.
Some boat guy.
Got to watch out for those boaters.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You want to postpone the Secretary of State? No, we'll go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Afternoon. Clay Helms here with the Secretary of State. We have 1 contract. This is for the Fair Campaign Practices Act electronic reporting system. So this is what candidates, political action committees utilize to report electronically to be transparent to the public.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Security Regulatory Board. You want to ask them to say?
Good afternoon. I'm Neva Conway. I'm the attorney for the Security Regulatory Board. I've got 1 contract for you today. It's for management services of the board with the Smith Warren Company.
$510,000?
Yes, sir.
The old contract was for $30,318.75 a month. This one is $42,500 per month.
Yes, sir. I mean, expenses are going up. I mean, it's more expensive for everybody, for state government, for the management company as well. They do an excellent job for the board. The board is extremely satisfied with the services that are provided for the management of the Security Regulatory Board. And I think the general public is probably satisfied with this, with the status of security officers that are present and available for all manner of functions everything from football games to security officers who are present for shopping malls and just any function that you can imagine.
Yet 10 of the 19 contract security companies that you licensed that responded to a survey indicated that the board did not perform their licensing and or renewal in a timely manner. 10 out of 19.
One of the problems that the board has with the licensing is that presently, for both initial licensing and for renewal licensing, the board is required to get a full FBI and ALEA background checked for renewal as well as initial licensure. And there have been backlogs with ALEA because of staffing shortages at ALEA in order to process those requests for background checks. The board is trying to make some progress in altering what's required for at least renewals and taking that load off of ALEA we feel will help with the initial licensure process also.
So 40.2% increase is what this is.
I didn't put any numbers on it. I didn't calculate the percentage.
I just did.
Yes, sir, I understand that.
Any questions?
And how many bids were there?
Sir?
How many bids were there for this?
Just one. It was put out for RFP. Initially, there was no response to the RFP, and it was the purchasing relet the RFP, and then there was one response.
So pretty much name your price. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Supreme Court.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Megan Rodebeck. I'm the clerk of the Supreme Court of Alabama. I've got 3 contracts for you to review this afternoon. If it's okay with you, I'll just go in order. The first one is with the Alabama Center for Dispute Resolution. This is a contract by court order. The center is the administrative arm of the Alabama Supreme Court's Commission on Dispute Resolution. We have a long-time relationship with the center. They have been incredibly productive, helping us resolve cases. So this is a $125,000 contract for the development, implementation, administration, and management of an alternative dispute resolution program throughout the state.
All right, does anyone have any questions on any of these 3? I have none.
Okay.
Make it easy. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This takes us to the bottom of page 76, transportation.
Clay McBride with Alabama DOT. We've got 14 contracts before you. They're all new. The first one is with Brassfield and Gorey for design services as part of the design build of the West Alabama Highway.
Any questions, comments on this?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If I may. Good afternoon, Clay. I'm sorry y'all had to sit through this to get to here. In the last Joint Transportation Committee meeting, I asked what the projected budget was for the West Alabama corridor. Do you know how much the West, or have an idea what the West Alabama corridor is going to cost?
Well, the initial, you're seeing the preliminary design is $74 million. The estimate that was done about a year ago was about $800 million. With the additional cost, it's going to go higher. It should not go that much higher, but we don't know for sure until we negotiate each segment of the progressive design bill.
So this administration has a habit getting started on a project that then goes wildly above budget. And I mean, I'm comparing apples and oranges, but when we talk about prisons, for instance, right, we have, hey, we think this is what it's going to cost. We get started on it. We do this kind of incrementally. This design build, again, we're starting down this road, if you will forgive the pun, and we have no idea what it's going to cost.
Well, keep in mind, we're bringing in, first of all, what we're called ICE, independent cost estimators. We've hired them to help us go through the whole life of the project. We'll also have our folks looking over the shoulders and side by side with the design builder at the same time, going through the design, going through the cost, everything intended to do that. We've also hired firms that have dealt with these, developing the contract, which has been extremely helpful to try to keep that down.
So this is for the design portion only?
That's correct. That's correct.
75 million just for the design. And we have no idea. I mean, we're not, look, the private folks have an idea.
Yes, and it may be $1 billion, it may be 1.1. We just won't know until we get into the actual design. Because that's what a design build is they're going to do design with us beside them, and then we're going to do the construction in segments. It's called a progressive design build, which we do in segments. And you look at each segment, you negotiate a completion date for that segment, you negotiate a price for that segment, and if we can't agree, if it gets too high and we won't agree, we just take the design from them, and we can go let it, or we can do another design build with it and take that information. So we're not locked in. If this thing gets out of hand, we're not locked into it. We just don't have to agree with the design builder.
So let's say, for instance, that we design this, and again, some of the estimates that I'm hearing, again, not from ALDOT, but are as high as 1.4, 1.5 billion.
We haven't heard anything like that, but I'm not doubting you, but we haven't seen anything like that.
This is listed as 100% state funded.
That's correct. Rebuild Alabama funds.
It's all Rebuild Alabama funds. And I think we've had this conversation before, probably bonding future gas tax revenues, future rebuild revenue, borrowing against that in order to pay for this project. Is that correct? Okay. So we'll make sure I got my facts straight. The governor's made a number of comments about using federal funds wherever they're possible. Has the Department of Transportation sought federal funding for this project?
No, our federal funding, we're limited. There's a misconception, or seems to be, that the federal funds are endless, and as long as the state can match it, we can draw those funds down. That's not correct. And I've been dealing with the federal funds almost my whole career. And the amount of federal funds we got is what we handle our normal program with. And the way Rebuild Alabama, was, as y'all know, was designed was to be able to provide additional funds to do economic development specifically. And that's what exactly we think this job fits. So we do intend to bond. How much that bonding will be, I think initially with this, we're going to pay as we go for the PE, and maybe even part of the construction. And then as we start getting into construction, we'll see how much will be bonded.
But if future federal funds were to become available, this certainly could be money that could be used to match those federal funds if they were to come available. Is that?
No.
You couldn't use Rebuild Alabama Act money to match federal funds?
You can, but you can't on this project. It has to be authorized with federal funds initially, or you can't put federal funds on it to construct it.
So maybe better to ask for federal funds and see if we can get them.
Well, I'll tell you honestly, we've not done real well in these grants. These grants tend to be very small. They have a few big, the mega grant, the infra grant. We've tried that on other projects and have gotten nowhere. We're hoping that will improve with this next round. But like as I said, the Rebuild Alabama funds, this is the kind of project for that economic development that we could use and bond a portion of it if we needed to.
What capacity of anticipated revenue coming from rebuild funds does this debt against what we anticipate coming take? Does it max out?
No. The law allows you to do 50% of the Rebuild Alabama coming in. but different numbers we've looked at. It could be 30% to 35% of that bonding capacity maybe, but until we know.
30% of the 50%.
That's correct. Until we get a price now, we won't know exactly how much.
And this contract's approved today, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
You look forward, when would you anticipate getting hard costs?
They'll start engineering design now. We hope to maybe have some cost or where we could maybe go to construction in the spring on some of these sections. But we'll have hard costs toward the end of the year or in the early spring, I would suspect.
What if the price doubles or gets, well over?
We're not going to agree to that. Keep in mind, this is what's called a progressive design build, okay? You set up the initial contract, you start doing design work with us right there. We have independent cost estimators look at the cost, see if what the contractor sending us is reasonable. And then they provide segments. One of the requirements was we wanted in what was called usable segments. So when those segments are complete, we can open it to traffic. People can start moving, using it immediately while they're working on different segments. So this is, keep in mind, a 75-mile project. So it was important to us to make sure that those segments could be opened and used by the public as soon as possible. So if we start going along and it gets out of hand, we won't agree to the price.
So I asked that question for a reason about if it gets out of hand. Director Cooper spoke at the Construction and Material Conference this morning, is my understanding, in Birmingham.
He did.
And I'm not quoting him directly, but my understanding is that he indicated that the Department of Transportation would be in a funding crisis in a couple of years, and that the legislature would have to come up with significantly more funding.
No, I was there. He didn't say anything like that.
Okay, well then please forgive me. That's inaccurate if you were there and I was not. But I will say, I have concerns about what the funding looks like in the future and our ability to match future federal funds, to draw down future federal funds. And I worry about bonding this much of future gas tax revenues, especially on one project.
Well, keep in mind, you still got a lot of area of that money that you can use for projects. We're going to continue to use that other 50, 55, 60%, whatever that turns out to be. We're going to continue to use it on Rebuild Alabama projects. And if it becomes necessary to use some of it for federal aid match, we will. But we haven't gotten to that point. What the director was more or less referring to is that eventually, if the feds continue to raise the amount of money they're giving us, we'll have to have some additional funds, and you may have to use some of this rebuild to match federal aid. But we're not using that now. Our normal state road and bridge is covering it.
Mr. Chairman, I need to understand this a little bit better, and I'd like to hold this contract until I can do that.
Okay. Okay. So I represent an area in West Alabama, okay? And this project is vital to my district and many others. And any delays in this project will continue to and contribute to the cost increase that we could potentially incur.
That's why we're using the progressive design build method, so we can get, you may pay a little more with the preliminary engineering up front because you have more personnel trying to get it done. But in the backside on the construction, instead of taking 15, 20 years to get something done and those costs continue to increase where it gets out of hand, you can base it on the next few years' cost as we're negotiating that day's cost.
Yeah, so this is what frustrates me more than anything else. All these other projects, whether it be 65, 10, okay, we're going to find the money. We're going to make it happen. But when it goes to the Black Belt, things change. This West Alabama project this is a vital project. It would connect two major cities that are growing, and also attract more people to travel this corridor instead of leaving it and going to a better roadway. Brings money. It brings economic development to an area that has been historically ignored. So, you know, if we're in a position where now it becomes important to start leveraging projects and making sure that other areas of the state are able to be taken care of, instead of just saying, you know what, this West Alabama needs some investment, then I'm in a position to start holding up all these contracts, because I don't want to pit different areas of the state against each other and then say, well, this project's more important. So once again, the Black Belt, where there are a whole bunch of poor folks, a lot of Black folks, are now having to wait to see if they're worthy enough of the same investment that goes in other parts of the state. So I'm just telling you, if we're holding up contracts for the West Alabama projects in the corridor and we're starting to slow that project down because of money, then I'm going to start doing the same thing for the rest of them. Because I've got to advocate for my area too. I got the same complaints, we got the same issues, we got the same problems. So, and I'm going to say that my folks are just as important as anybody else in the state. So, it also, you know, you got $1 billion project going on in your area, $1 billion. And it's essentially building it's rebuilding a bridge that's already there, right? This is a road that could attract people to come down 43, which means that those same tax dollars that are going into Mississippi because they're avoiding 43, which in some parts is it's dangerous. Like, you know, when it rains, there's parts of 43 you don't even want to be on. So, I mean, again, I don't want to get to the position where we're, you know, pitting different areas of the state against each other. But I'm telling you, if we're going to start delaying this project because we're just trying to figure out if we're going to have enough money to invest in the Black Belt, then you might as well just go ahead and mark my name as holding the rest of them. And that's my position today. Because, you know, at some point, we just have to stop ignoring the Black Belt.
Your thoughts on this?
Well, obviously, this is a priority for the governor and for us, and we've treated it that way, worked on it. You know, we've been negotiating for the last year. Obviously, it's a priority, and that's what we're going to continue on as best we can with it.
Okay. Typically, the way we've run this committee, as you know, Representative England, is that if a member has a problem, we allow it to be held. I've extended that courtesy on multiple times here. That was my intent today on this. Do you have something you would like to? The only other option is to vote, and we've got 3 people here.
I might be outnumbered. All I'm saying is, you know, I will, like, again, if this is the way we're handling this, and all of a sudden we got to start counting pennies, because it's, you know, because this West Alabama project apparently isn't important enough to leverage dollars and treat it like we treat other areas. Again, you can, like I said, I don't want to hold it because I know holding it delays, any further delays will be a further reason down the road to say we can't do it because it's going to cost more. And I don't think what you're talking about as far as costs are concerned and having to figure out how much it costs, I don't think it's unique to the West Alabama project.
It's not.
It's not. I mean, that's what happens on every single one of them. In West Alabama, for example, every road project that we've got, we're doing the same thing. And we have a pretty good partnership with AlDOT and Tuscaloosa County, but the reason we do is because we had to create our own funds to match dollars that the state is providing. So, you know, like I said, I don't want to hold it because I know that when the cost goes up, because any delays in the project will cause those costs to go up, and then those will ultimately become a reason to slow it down even further, which means we get further and further away from actually completing the project. There's no way I can agree to that. And, you know, like I said, if I will ask to hold the rest of the transportation contracts on this agenda if that's where we're headed.
Would you guys give us just a second? Let us step in the back room real quick and we'll be right back. Under 4 or 5 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back in business. We've agreed that Senator Elliott, the rules of our committee will stand that this will be held, but the agreement is that you will sit down and talk with him and maybe the three of us and any of us others that want to come next week and come to an understanding. The goal is to sit and have questions answered, and then the hold will be dealt with. And Clay, maybe that's something that could be worked on at the end of this meeting today, a meeting time to do that.
We'll do it.
I think it's important that we let our members do this. Representative England was gracious to agree to that. What he does from here is his business. We talked through that. So if that works for you, we would like to schedule a meeting ASAP to go over this and then deal with the hold after that.
Okay.
We have others that were going to speak very much in favor with the exact same vigor as Representative England, and they had prior commitments they had to deal with. So that's where we'll go. And so you want to hold, you speak.
Yeah, in light of the discussion we had, and in the best interest of transparency and trying to understand the contracts, I want to put a hold on all of them until you speak to Senator Elliott to make sure that his questions are answered.
Okay.
And then once that occurs, then I think we can figure out a way to move forward.
And I appreciate my colleagues allowing it. Thank you for your time to let us slip back there and get this worked out. So that takes us to page 77, hold on both of those. 78. The bottom of 78, here's my question. What are cultural resource services? Could you unpack that? The bottom of 78, Clay.
That's archaeology, stuff like that.
Okay, I got
Part of the
it.
environmental.
Got it. Okay. Guys, if anyone has a question about these others, let's get it done so that we know that's only held until this meeting happens. Okay. All right. We got the cultural service 79. We're good there. 80.
We added that, the description's better for you on.
Yeah, I got it. That's why I'm going through my notes. All right, we're down to youth services, Clay. Thank you.
Okay.
We look forward to getting this all resolved. All these others, as soon as we get this done, the hold will come off, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Representative England, Senator Elliott. Good teamwork.
Good afternoon. I'm Dudley Perry. I'm General Counsel for the Department of Youth Services. I have 18 contracts on the agenda. I'll handle these how you prefer. I can go through them one at a time. I can.
If you'll let me walk through them. Anyone have a question on page 84? Go to the top of 85. I've got questions on 85. Same vendor, same description. What are the differences in these two contracts, please, Dudley?
I've got an index. What's the name of the provider?
I'm sorry, page 85. It's Medical Expertise Authority.
Right. So our medical system, we don't have a sort of in-house hospital in the Department of Youth Services. We have clinics at each facility. We have a medical director who's sort of the system overseer, and we have at each campus a campus physician. The doctor who provides the campus physician services at MEGS is also the provider who's the system overseer, if you will. So those are two separate services.
I hear what you're saying, but they're providing medical services to youth placed at DYS MEGS, and then provide medical services to youth placed at DYS Mount Meigs. So
It may be an error
exact
in the
description, that's,
maybe an error in the description. One of them, he is the medical director.
Sure.
He helps us with all of these contracts. And like I said, since we don't have a medical system in-house, we have nurses on site that do medical they dispense meds, and we have a doctor who comes to the facility, but we also have one of the contracts you'll see here, two of them, for psychiatric services. One is an inpatient hospital, sort of an emergency type
I'm not
service.
making myself clear. On page 85, these look everything identical. So my question is, one's 98.4, one's 144,000 state funds.
There's an error.
Oh, okay, I got you. I tell you what, we'll just hold these two, and then if you can just clarify that, I think we can roll along.
Thank you.
It just looks, it looked like an error, so that was our thought. Okay. Top of 86. I have no questions on 86. I'm good with that. 87, I have no questions. 88, I have no questions.
Sole source?
80, oh,
that's on 89.
You beat me to the punch. Yeah.
So this truly is a sole source. The federal regs, I'm not making this up, require that we have in place a contract with an entity who can provide an evaluation or a review in case of a violent assault. That entity must be an entity that has been trained by the approved federal trainer. That, I believe, is the Moss group. So in our area, there is one, and these are they. So
One Place Justice Center?
Correct.
Okay.
So we either contract with them or we are not in compliance with the PREA regs.
So they're the only ones by the feds that can
They're truly
certified for sane and safe provider for these covered counties.
They are truly the sole source.
It's in their name. It says One Place.
Thank you, Senator Elliott. It begs the question. So I assume you RFP'd this, or you checked with the feds, found out that they're the only ones, so
Yes.
One Place.
That's
I got
right.
you. Okay, well, there you go. I'm good with that then. All right, no problems on 89, no problems on 90. No problems on 91, no problems on 92. Anyone else differ? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
You get back to us on that, please, sir. All right, Legal Services, Attorney General's Office.
Clay Crenshaw with AG's office. First contract is with Dr. Glenn King. He's a psychologist, and when a capital murder case cycles into state federal post-conviction, he testifies for us.
All right, I'm good with that. I'm good with the bottom of 93.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks, sir.
much. Conservation.
Charlotta Skaggs for Conservation. We have one contract
Any
for legal
questions?
services.
Thank you, Ms. Skaggs. Court reporting.
Good afternoon. I'm Victor Biebighauser. I'm the Executive Director of the Board of Court Reporting, and we have one contract for you, which is a renewal of our legal services contract with Wilkerson Bryan. They're our current providers. It's a 2-year renewal, same terms and conditions and same rates.
Is this an RFP system? How does this work?
It's not RFP. The board retained the Wilkerson Bryan firm beginning in 2019, so this will be the third 2-year engagement for the firm.
Okay. Always look for the best price is what I'd say, and they are at our normal rate, so
Yes, sir.
Hope they do a great job for you.
And I think you'll find that our board has been operating in a very fiscally responsible manner.
Very good.
Can I make a comment real quick, since I've been kind of tough on the board so far? You're doing a great job. So I just want to say that, so it's not all negative, but you're doing a really good job with it. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We appreciate it. We have a very active and involved board, and they're very serious about their profession.
Well, and a good fiscally minded executive director who runs a really tight ship. So
right.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'll take that.
We are grateful.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Education.
Tina Hammonds, back for education. We have the one contract with the Brewman Group. It is state funds. It is a new contract. And the Brewman Group with Tiffany Kessler will provide on-site training and consultant services dealing with federal funding assistance and developing our procedures for federal and state programs. And this will involve career and technical education, the Education Department and General Administrative Regulations, the Office of Management and Budget Regulations, and the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Regulations.
Tina, I just had a question. Why is this a legal contract? Because they are attorneys?
They are attorneys, and it's a law firm that stays up to date on all of the practices and timelines and things that have to keep us in code, but it is not actually legal services or any litigation. It is consultation and training and that type of service. So it's a legal contract with a company that's not going to do any litigation or anything. They're just going to provide training on the regulations, and so it's general educational training and consultation.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It might be appropriate to file this not under legal, but just as a regular contract.
We had discussed that, to be honest, and our folks said law firm, legal, and legal hourly, so that's how we went this way, but we appreciate that.
Waltz and toss like a duck, but yeah, I might do that.
We totally defer to how you would like to categorize.
How about next time on this, do regular? I won't hold this, but
we'll do it.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And the rate, as you know, is above our normal rate. I get it's in DC. Get it?
Yes, sir. And then we did get a letter about that, and we submitted it since it was legal services because of a law firm outside of Price. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Health planning. And just for information, SHPDA is State Health Planning.
State Health Planning and Development Agency. Yep. Yes, sir. I'm Emily Marsall. This is our general legal services contract.
Anybody have a question? Thanks, Emily.
Thank you.
Human Resources.
I'm Jennifer Bush with DHR, and we have 2 contracts for legal services. The first one is a 2-year renewal with Bainbridge, Mims, Rogers, and Smith for legal services in a litigation case.
All right. You have questions about either one? You're good, both?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Page 97 and 98. Thank you. Medical examiners.
Good afternoon. Effie Hawthorne for the Board of Medical Examiners. We have 1 contract.
What's the rate per hour?
$2.25.
And they're a Montgomery firm. Help me understand that. The problem that we have, I know it's approved by the governor. We're limited to $195 an hour for a reason, and we start making exceptions, and every contract that comes behind you will start to bump that up. We're aware of what inflation's doing. So how does the committee want to handle this?
It's just you and me, buddy.
I've felt that way before.
I mean, at this point.
We're in the same vessel, if you would. It causes me concern because this mission creep, we will start to see this happen, and 2 major voices had to leave for prior commitments. They didn't bring their dinner with them tonight, but I'm not going to hold this, but we'll have discussions with the executive branch on this, because if this is a change of policy, it's a change of policy, and that's not my job to set policy here, or two people setting policy solely for our state on this. And it gives me heartburn on that. And I had a conversation about this prior to this meeting. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Man, that frustrates me. Do you have any questions about this one? I have none, and since you're good to go, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much. You are brave. Was that you are important, you smart, and you're brave is what I would say. Thank you. You're kind. Optometry Board.
Good afternoon. I'm Fred Wallace, Executive Director of the Board of Optometry. This is our renewal of our existing legal services contract with Mr. Wallace Mills of Montgomery.
I have no questions.
None.
Fred, thank you. Prosthetic and Orthotics Board.
I'm Ronnie Ezel. I'm with the Board of Prosthetists and Orthotists. We have one contract. It's for a hearing officer for $6,000 for a one-year contract.
We're good, sir. Thank you. Revenue, no names, owners. Just know that before you get up here. Other than that, I have no questions.
Yes, we're still centers, but we're going to give it to you, give you all the shareholders of the park.
You're most kind.
But again, this is no other questions, or do y'all?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Job well done. Youth Services.
So I'm Dudley Perry. I have one contract. This is a contract with Bill Eskridge at Rushton Stakely to provide some expertise. And
I have no questions. You're
Thanks,
good,
sir.
sir. Did we miss it?
Yeah, you missed it.
I am so sorry. Page.
Here, I'm looking at you.
Well, yeah, no one. We were finished, but someone just got here. Would you like to address your contract, please, ma'am?
If you would like me to.
Please.
And I have been here.
Can you state your name, please?
Melissa Tyndall with the Senate President Pro Tem's office. Contract today with Botch and Bingham to help with reapportionment committee.
I have no questions. You have any questions? No, thank you very much. Excellent job with that. We are finished. Thank you for hanging in there with us today. We appreciate it.